Hey everyone, welcome to our small footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a large family living off-grid in Australia. It is Sunday, and on Sundays I generally do a bit of a chat and catch up and a bake with me and things like that of sort of a video. That is my, topic of choice on a Sunday. It is late today. It's 3:30. Normally I do this in the morning, but time got away from me today. Not everyone who normally goes to church went to church, so I had a lot more kids around and a lot of music playing and things like that, which meant that I didn't get out here to the kitchen, but I also had other stuff that we were doing. So we've had a few things go on this week. If you follow me on Facebook, you would have seen that we took on another orphaned lamb. He is a baby doll lamb, so they look a little bit like a teddy bear, and his mum was attacked by wild dogs and killed, and he has a puncture wound as well. He also has a cough, so whether that's from aspirating some milk in a bottle because he was bottle fed, or to do with an infection or whatever, we've started him on some more antibiotics, and he is bottle fed every sort of 3-ish hours, 3 to 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours. It really depends on how he goes, but we are stretching him out a little bit at night, so I am sort of doing his last feed at like 11, and then I got up at 5:30 this morning, so sort of the 6-ish hours overnight, and he seemed to tolerate that okay. So it's still late nights, early mornings, but at least I'm not getting up every 2 hours overnight. He is a lot bigger than Lamington was when we took Lamington on. I'll put a photo in here of him, and I will get some footage during the week. At the moment it's a bit hard because it's chilly outside, so we've kept him inside and kept the fire going for him while he's got this cough and stuff, but as he recovers we'll get more footage of him. The kids have decided to call him Coconut. I sort of said that they should continue with the food theme after Lamington, and they decided that Coconut because he's white. So there we go, Coconut. And hopefully he will recover and that will be fun. So that's been really good. What else did we have happen this week? Oh, we also lost when we first moved out here, we built a little chicken tractor and we had a few chickens. And we took a rooster on, a little bit like the softie that I am now. He was a rooster that someone didn't want. There was a friend at the time who had a rooster they didn't want, and he was a gorgeous looking rooster, and we were looking at breeding chickens, so we took him on. Apollo at the time called him Rainbow, and we got him in the earliest photo I can find. He's a teenager in about January of 2020, and we have had him all along. We actually have Rainbow Jr. as well, who was one of his babies and looks just like him. And Rainbow died yesterday, which we knew he was on his way out. He was very old and slow. He used to like to just he would burrow down in the hay and his girls would sit around him, and he wasn't very active, and his feet were looking a little bit mangled, and he was definitely aging out. And obviously the really cold weather and wet weather lately, he just couldn't cope anymore. So he was 5.5 years old or something, but or 6 years old maybe, so he passed yesterday, so we buried him. But I have a few photos here to share because he was the first rooster we ever got. So there's a photo here of him in the little tractor thing that we built originally as a teenager, and there's a couple of photos of him as he got a bit older, and there's this gorgeous photo that I took, which I reckon would make a great a calendar spread, I reckon, and that's him with his girls. So when we got the rescue hens, the Isa Browns that we got from the rescue, the old egg layers, we put them in his pen because he was always a really big, gentle rooster. So we thought that he was a good rooster to put in with the rescue hens. So this is a photo of him when he first got there with all the rescue girls and stuff like that. And then this is his son, who we just call Rainbow Jr. Apollo gave Rainbow the moniker, and so then it just continued on. So it was Rainbow Jr. And the only real difference between them is that Rainbow Jr. doesn't have the floppy crest that Rainbow always had. So other than that, they look pretty similar. So we lost him yesterday, which was a bit sad, but we buried him, and it's what happens on a farm. But yeah, so we've had those two things go on. We finally got the Ranger in to be assessed, and it's going to be $5,000 to fix absolutely everything. We've decided to go ahead with it. That's what we worked for, to put money away for and everything else, and it's still a good car in that you could never replace it for $5,000. Like, you could never replace the Ranger or something similar for that price. And I spoke to my uncle and stuff, and we've decided that it's worthwhile doing, that we should get another sort of 10 years out of the car, so long as we look after it with all of these repairs done. So that's what we're going to do. We need 2 cars. If, you know, we got given the second one, and it seems silly to then lose the first one when we have the opportunity to pay for it because of the bonus from the Thermomix and stuff, which is pretty much, that's like topped it out. It's all gone now. We still didn't end up buying a trailer, and we may not now that we've got that $5,000 spent there too. We'll see how we go. But we had a lot of things that came up that we were very grateful to be able to afford because of that bonus. So thank you to everyone who bought the Thermomixes during that time. Sonnet had to get new orthotics, which were $1,000 and things like that. So we've spent it, but it's spent on things that have been needed or that we got to show for it, the transport of the new car and all that sort of stuff, and then the repairs of this one. It's fantastic. So we wouldn't have been able to do it if we didn't have the ability to have earned that money. So anyway, so the Ranger we should get back sometime next week, apparently. So we'll see how that goes, figure that out, and then in the meantime we'll nurse Coconut back to health and things like that. I got a really cute photo of Mercury the other day. Everyone keeps on asking about the cats all the time, and I don't always have footage of them, but Mercury was up in the bookcase and I got a really cute photo, so I'll put that in here as well. So she is doing well. She's still very tiny, super affectionate, but still very small. We actually can't get her de-sexed until she sizes up a little bit, so she has to be contained in the house. She can't be let out. But I did just order Kmart. I was on Kmart's website, and they had one of these like enclosures that has height and stuff to it with little tunnels and stuff. So I've actually ordered one of those for her as well, so that when we need to contain her, she has a giant cage for when we need to contain her that has a litter tray and a tower and all sorts of things in it. But this one's got some height and stuff too. So we might even jury rig them together so that she's got both spaces when we have to lock her up. So that has been fun. The other cats have not been impressed with Coconut. Sinatra came in the other day, and Coconut was even in his cage. We have a cage for him to sleep in, and was even in his cage, and Sinatra was petrified. So that's been interesting. But anyway, so I have to get started on dinner shortly, but what I was going to do for the video and while I'm chatting, I don't know what else I need to chat about, but we'll figure it out, was you make some of these muffin mix up from the dry mix and make sure that it all works out how I expect it to. I've made this dry mix up before, but I haven't necessarily sized it up the way I did, and we're going to give it a go and make sure that it all works out. I got Darryl to get some new muffin papers because we didn't have any muffin papers, and my muffin tins just aren't good enough to cook in them. We do have some of the silicone muffin liners, but not enough to do 2 batches over the time. And I really struggle with silicone liners because in our environment they just get dirty so easily, and it's so hard to keep them clean. We tend to clean them and then like stick things in Ziploc bags or whatever. It's awkward. But anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 batches. So we worked out that it should be 420 grams of the dry muffin mix per 12 muffins, right? So that's what I'm going to do. And then one I'm just going to do standard chocolate chip. And the other one I'm going to do apple cinnamon, which is one of my favorite sort of flavors for a muffin. Lemon poppy seed is one of my other ones, but I don't appear to have, I've got some lemon juice frozen and stuff, and some zest somewhere, but I'm not real sure where, and it's late in the day, and I'm going to do apple cinnamon. So all I'm going to do is dice up some apple nice and small. A lot of the kids aren't huge fans of apple-based cakes, but I don't care. And they do eat a lot of apple-based stuff because I cook a lot of apple-based stuff, and yet sometimes they really complain about it. But I like apple cinnamon, so that's what I'm going to do. So I've got 3 small apples here. We're going for around about a cup of mix-in for the 420 grams of dry. So I'm just dicing it up nice and small so that it softens, because that's one of the things the kids don't like. I really like my apple to have a bit of a texture, like in apple pies and things like that. But they tend to complain if it's got too much texture. So let's just dice it up nice and small. So other than that, what else have we been doing? I did a so with the 3D printing thing, there's all these things that I want to do myself. Like I've been working on the 3D modeling, and I've got those tissue boxes that I'll have a couple of samples done up for by next week, because I wanted to do a couple of different patterns on the outsides of them. But I also do stuff from other people. Like I sign up to their Thangs or their Patreons or whatever, and it allows you to sell their product if you want to, like if you want to print it and sell it. And that's not necessarily my goal, because I don't want to print farm. The 3D printer was just an accessory along with the laser to do the family trees and things like that, and I'm not very good at marketing, we all know this, so none of it's getting used as well as it could. But I really want to do some bookmarks and some coasters and things like that with the 3D printer, because I really like the idea that you can do your own artwork and then get it 3D printed, which just looks really cool. And the bookmark, nice sturdy reusable bookmarks, I think would be great too. But one of the things that I did find that I really liked was the guy that he calls it Fly Frog, and it's a character frog. And there's a few different characters. There's a Batman frog and there's a standard one and things like that. But they do a Father's Day one with a beard and stuff too that I printed out for Darryl. So I'll show you that one. And it's very, very cute. So we've been doing that. The boys wanted some more of the dummy 13s. I'll see if I can find a photo to put in here of those two. They're like a little articulated toy that they can pose and stuff like that. We did an R2D2 and a couple of I think I've shown the Mario one, but what else was there? There was something else, the Mario Kart and stuff. I don't know if I've shown that, but we do all sorts of bits and pieces on the 3D printer throughout the week. I need to document that a little bit better. It's something that I'm working on, how I want to share that. I talked about books last week, and I mentioned that Elle Thorpe has a new one coming out, and that I had signed up to her street team and was sharing that. I need to share that on Facebook as well. But I've been reading some of the back catalogue of her books that I haven't read before, and amongst other things. So I might, I don't know how to, I need to figure out how to share the books so that people who are interested can have a look at the ones that it's on my Goodreads. I suppose I could put a link to my Goodreads, but in a video it'd be nice to share it as well somehow. I don't know. We'll figure that out as well. But it's all a little bit, I'm sort of at this like pivot point of what I'm going to do with the content and stuff. The content's still going to be the same. It's still going to be all this kitchen and prep stuff and things like that. But it might be less of what I used to do was all the day to day of prep and planning after doing the groceries. And whilst that will still happen, it's probably going to happen a bit less because we'll do the groceries more often. But I think also it happens less just naturally in winter anyway. And I think that what I'm feeling like I don't have enough content at the moment, I think that happens every winter, because the food availability is different, but also so like the fruits and stuff are different, but also the weather's different and our lives are different. But we've got the new schooling on top of that as well that I'm working out how to plan around. And, it's just been, I think that I'm overthinking it as per normal for me as to how things aren't quite lining up. But I think it will fall back into place. But I am looking to pivot a little bit to share a bit more of the personal side of things, so that I can, with the 3D printing and stuff, not only because there's potential that I could sell some of the stuff, but also because I really enjoy it, and it's something that I want to share because I really enjoy it. So, that was 420 grams of that muffin mix, and then 10 grams of the cinnamon, and then I'm going to put the apple through now and mix that through the flour because that helps to stop it from sinking. And then we're going to add the wet ingredients. So I'm going to put this in. Let me find a spatula as well, and we will stir that up. I think that's the problem though, is that when YouTube is not only a hobby but part of your, you know, income and livelihood, you overanalyze things that you don't necessarily need to, because I know that I have my community here, and if I just keep doing what I'm doing, then I will maintain that community, and I never wanted to be anything huge. That was never my goal. So what I'm doing is working, but sometimes I get a little hung up on the details. All right, we need our wet ingredients for this. So we need 250 grams of milk, an egg, and half a cup of 125 grams of oil, and then your cup of mixed in. So we've got the apple cinnamon. So now we're going to add our wet, and all I'm going to do is throw it all in here. So I'm going to add, you can use whatever fat or oil you want. I'm going to use just olive oil. Scales aren't zeroing for some reason. 125 grams, because this is an olive oil blend. It's not particularly flavored, and it tolerates the higher heat because it's not extra virgin or anything. So we're going to put 125 grams of olive oil in there. We're going to, let me grab an egg and the milk. All right, we've got an egg, nice big egg. And then I've got this milk that came in the hamper that really needs to be used. It's just past date, slightly sour, which is fine for cooking. So I'm just going to use it. I was going to use it in some Ninja Creamies, and I just haven't got around to it. So 250 grams. The kids will be, it's not like they're going to be wolfing a whole batch of these down. So the bit of milk that's in them is neither here nor there, which is what I'm grateful about with their tolerance to dairy lately, is that I can just use a little bit here and there and it's not a big deal. So 250 grams, and then we're just going to mix this together, not over mix, because it's a muffin mix, you make it tough. So we're just going to bring it all together and make sure that the consistency looks good. And that looks pretty good to me. So we've got a batch of apple cinnamon there. Now, let's make the second batch. I'll turn the oven on to preheat while we do that. We'll do the cup of chocolate chips. I'm not heaping these or anything. So, cup of chocolate chips. And then we're going to do the same. 250 of milk, 125 of oil, and an egg. Everything else is already in there, which is why it makes it nice and easy for the kids. Now I'm just going to scrape this off. It's really not that big a deal if a little bit of that batter gets on this one. Now remember, we used coconut sugar in this, which is why it's not particularly white. But that's fine, and that looks good to me too. So we've got two batches. So now I'm just going to go and get my muffin pans sorted, and I'll think about anything else we needed to chat about. That was the other thing I was going to talk about, was the we've tried those freezer sandwiches, the bacon and egg freezer sandwiches that I made the other day, and whilst they're okay, they're not great. I think part of it is that we're too spoilt with normally eating things fresh, but also we did it with the heated it up in the oven, and it takes like 40 minutes to defrost in the oven from frozen before you even before you can even toast it, which is a lot of forward planning, which isn't always our forte. I did put one in the oven while Darryl was out on Saturday picking up the lamb, so that by the time he came back he could toast it. But yeah, they're okay, not great. So I think maybe what I'll end up doing is doing the bits individually, maybe freeze the English muffins separately to the other stuff. I'm not sure. We'll have to have a think about it. Ideally, you'd pull it out of the fridge the night before, and you'd have it defrosting in the fridge. But the problem with that is that my kids can be unpredictable. So I could like pull it out the night before, and then no one would want to eat them. and they'd be defrosted for no reason. Darryl would. If I pulled it out the night before and I prepped it for Darryl, he would probably eat it no matter what, even if he didn't really want it, because that's what he does. But for the kids, I'd be likely to pull it out to defrost and they wouldn't eat it, and that would be a waste. So, you know, I don't know. They're really loving the ramens at the moment, which is working. I'd like to find a way to boost the protein in them a little though. And I still haven't done the other instant soups that I was going to do with the potato flakes and stuff in it, so that it was thicker. So like it was a thickened instant soup, like a cup of soup. So I'd still like to do that at some point. So we'll see if that works. The other thing was the kids love pies. And so we got that batch did exactly the 12. They're well filled. We'll have to see how much they potentially rise, because these aren't giant muffin tins. They're just standard muffin tins, and we'll see. But that's one batch done. So now I just got to fill the other one. If anyone has recommendations for good muffin tins, let me know too. I think I'm in the market to replace these ones. I really don't like them. I don't even know what brand these ones were, but they just do not come clean properly. The kids obviously don't clean them real well either, but I struggle. Even when I'm cleaning them, I struggle. But so let me know. What was I going to say? Oh, pies. So when we did the hamper, one of the recent hampers, we got a whole bunch of frozen pies, like just standard cheap mince pies, and the kids adore them. And I love homemade pies, and I make them regularly, but I normally just make family size ones because it's easy. I'm thinking maybe I need to go the effort of making some individual ones, because they were happy to wait the 30-40 minutes for the pies to cook from frozen. And I like pies from frozen. I'm not keen on breakfast sandwiches from frozen. It's really not my thing. But the pies from frozen I could do quite easily. So maybe I need some individual pie tins. I was looking at the pie palettes, like the self-cutting pie palettes. They look really cool, but I don't know whether that's really feasible for me or not. But I'm going to have a look at a few things. Now this one had the cup of apple in it, so it's made an abundance of batter. It's really more than, like, it's probably like 14 rather than 12, which is slightly awkward. But I don't want to overload these too much, because then they will just overflow, and that's not great either. But anyone who cooks muffins like this knows that you can't really put just, like, probably have another muffin tin somewhere, but you can't put like just 2 or 3 muffins in and the rest empty. You'd have to fill them with water or something, because otherwise the heat doesn't distribute evenly. So that's something to think about, that there's still enough batter in here for a little bit more. But maybe if I buy muffin tins rather than just cupcake tins, then that would be different too. I don't know. We're working on this together. It's been a long time since I've done this sort of thing. So anyway, 12, let's get these in the oven. Found a little ramekin, put a paper in it and scraped the last of it, so it was just one more in there. So now I'm gonna just tidy up. So those are in the oven, and I'll show them to you when they're done. Hopefully they turn out okay. And I pulled out some bolognese for dinner. So what I think I might do is cook up some bechamel, whatever you want to call it, however you want to pronounce it, depending on which region you're from. Do a bit of a cheese sauce and just have bolognese pasta with a bit of cheese sauce for dinner. A bit of a pasticcio type thing, but I don't know if I'll bake it. We'll see how we go time-wise. The thermomixes, I can't turn them on at the moment because the secondary solar isn't turned on. I need to send a child over to turn it on. It must have zonked out in the overcast weather that we had. We had so many days of rain and overcast that power has been a bit of a premium for us, and so the secondary solar has a tendency to just bottom out and it'll turn off to protect itself, which is fine, except that you have to go out there to turn it back on. So I will send a child to do that. So other than that, I'm going to put that together. What else did I need to say? I don't think there's much else other than rambling about my, I started saying about the pivoting of content and not really sure what I'm doing, but then I think it's sort of seasonal and maybe it'll all sort itself out in the end, and overanalyzing, squirreling about stuff that's going through my head that isn't necessarily particularly relevant but feels like it is in the moment, sort of thing. It's a hard one. What else? I can't think of anything else that needs to be discussed that has anyone asked anything about. I've got the oven on, so I may as well just do the pasticcio bake. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 different white sauces, one a full dairy one and one a limited dairy one, because I can. So all I do is a fairly basic bechamel sauce, and one of the beauties of the Thermix is this is one of the things that I use all the time in the Thermix, and I find it's one of the simplest things, but it just makes my life so much easier, and that's white sauces and stuff where you just throw everything in. So I'm just going to do a half size one for Darryl and I. So we want 50 grams of butter, and then we're going to add 50 grams of flour. And then we're going to add 500 grams of milk. So getting to use this milk up that I wanted to use up as well. And then I like to add some Dijon to my white sauces as well. Yeah. And a little bit of salt, as well as I like a little bit of paprika in mine too. And then all I'm going to do is put that on thicken, lid on, and hit start. And it will do its thing. So I'm going to do the same thing in the other one with the non-dairy. Now I add egg yolks at the end of this as well. So a bit of cheese, and I've got some grana padano and the egg yolks for Darryl and mine, and I will use the nutritional yeast, and I'll use Nuttalex and coconut cream for the kids one. So while that's cooking, I'm going to get the pasta going, and then once this is done, I will run the other Thermix. I can't run them both at the same time. Actually, for some reason, the solar's just cut out, even though it hasn't been on all day. Change plans. As I said, we've been having some issues with the solar lately, so we've had to... My mic isn't turned on. So I'm making the white sauce on the stove, which is fine. I can do it. It's just really hard on my hands with the stirring constantly to keep it from going lumpy. But we will get there. And I've got water on to boil. The muffins came out and they look perfect. I probably could have topped them up a little higher if I wanted with that bit of extra batter by the looks of it, because they didn't explode over the top. But this is the apple cinnamon one, lovely and soft and fluffy and perfectly cooked. So happy with that now. All right, so we've got the dairy one nice and thick. We're going to turn the heat down and drop in those 2 egg yolks, whisk them through, and they will cook with the residual heat. And then some of the oops, it was probably a little too more than I meant, but that's fine. Mix that through, and there's the cheese sauce to go with Darryl and my pasticcio type thing. And then I'm going to just have to grab another pan and do exactly the same thing, but with the coconut cream and stuff for the kids. So we'll just let that cheese melt through so it's not lumpy, and that will be done. And then I'll bring you back when I put it all together. Same process for the dairy-free. We use Nuttalex, flour, coconut cream, Dijon and paprika. I'm going to put a tiny little sprinkle of the cheese for flavour, and then we add nutritional yeast as the rest. And I've got the egg yolks there too. So we'll stir that through, and then grab the nutritional yeast flakes because I'm going to bake it as well. And then generous with those. There we go. We got a nice, thick, rich, cheesy sauce for their pasta dish as well. So now I'm going to clean up. The pasta's cooked. We're going to get it all layered up. So we're going to go super simple. I've got the protein pasta in one and the cheese sauce, the dairy-based cheese sauce will go into that one. I just need to find my spatula. Oh, bolognese. That's the thing we're missing. So we're going to pour the bolognese in on top. And this is our pre-done frozen bolognese that we do in these bags. Bolognese is one of the things that I really like reheated. There is a lot of things that I don't. Bolognese is one that I like. We have bolognese. There's still a few frozen-y bits in here actually, but that's fine. I'm just going to be really annoy some people because I'm using my hands, but I'm just going to break that up because it's not actually frozen, it's just not quite defrosted, which is fine because we're just going to mix it through. This isn't bolognese. I have just realised that this isn't bolognese. Oh well. And then we're just going to put the cheese sauce over the top. Now I probably made more than I needed, but honestly, can you ever have too much cheese sauce? And that's it. And I'm just going to throw this in the oven and do exactly the same thing with the other one. Alrighty, so both of those are in the oven. I'll show you when they come out. And it turns out it wasn't bolognese in those bags. It was butter chicken. So it's going to be butter chicken pasta with cheese sauce. I have cheese and garlic naan with butter chicken. Butter chicken pasta is a thing. I don't know. The bags were obviously, I don't know. I don't normally freeze butter chicken, see, but we froze butter chicken recently instead of canning it because I didn't have the time or the jars out to can it, so it got frozen, and obviously I forgot that I froze some in bags like that. I don't know, so it'll be interesting, but I'll show it to you when it's done. Everyone likes butter chicken, everyone likes pasta, everyone likes cheese sauce, so fingers crossed it's edible. But yeah, so muffins done. I need to get a container out for those. We've tried the chocolate chip and the apple cinnamon ones. They're both very yummy. And that's it from me for today, I think. It's late. It's 5:20. They're finishing the animals up now. And Darryl will be home, I don't know, at some point. And probably just when I'm serving up dinner. And yeah, so another week done. So thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.